Do you remember Brandy? First, she left us all confused, and then she surprised us when we saw her pregnant. But here's the real question. Who got Brandy pregnant? She arrived alone at Rad and Frisky's wedding party. So who's going to be the father of that baby? Did Brandy do the delicious with the invisible dog? Or could there be a secret past between Brandy and Bandit? Well, friends, in this video, we're going to find out who the real father of Brandy's baby is. First of all, I know a lot of you thought Brandy couldn't have kids because Costumes basically handed us a tissue and said, yep, she's suffering.
Maybe you just saw something you wanted.
Chili herself told us Brandy couldn't have what she wanted most. And when we saw her playing with Bingo, all joy and baby fever. Only to leave looking like she'd aged 10 emotional years? Yeah, that wasn't just sadness. That was existential dread with a smile. So, what happened? How did Brandy end up pregnant if she supposedly couldn't have kids? Plot twist? Miracle? Or maybe the writers just said, hey, trauma's flexible. And remember, Chili had her own struggle. She had a miscarriage before Bluey was born, so maybe Brandy just had to try a few more times before it finally worked, because nothing says healing like round 2 of emotional roulette. Maybe after all the heartbreak, Brandy was just done. So she visits her sister, sees Bingo, and suddenly remembers what hope feels like. Or, at least, what good lighting does for your mental health. Either way, she leaves inspired and apparently very productive, because now we've got one burning question left. Who's the irresponsible father? And is he also pretending this is just a kid's show? No, just kidding. Well, maybe not, because this theory might actually make too much sense, which, let's be honest, is suspicious for Bluey. You remember Busker, right? The party-loving street musician who looks like he hasn't filed taxes since 2008? Yeah, that guy. Apparently, he's not just a guy with a guitar and a dream. He might also be the man responsible for Brandy's glow. How's he connected? Simple. The sign. In that episode, we find out the priest who marries Rad and Frisky is... wait for it, Busker. That shocked a lot of fans, because last we saw him, he was singing on the street, not sanctifying marriages. Which means one of two things. Either he's weirdly close to the healers, or he's already part of the healers. And let's be real, it would make total sense. How else does a guy who plays for spare change suddenly show up officiating your brother's wedding like it's a side gig between open mics? Love might be blind, but it's clearly not checking resumes. Here's the real kicker. Brandy didn't actually go to the wedding alone. Busker was already there. She just looked solo because her maybe husband slash DJ slash priest was double booked. Hey! And did you catch that empty chair at her table? That's not an editing mistake. That's emotional foreshadowing with catering. Who could it belong to? Maybe the DJ, aka Busker, running back and forth between spinning tracks and spinning life choices. Even Joe Brum said it himself. Everyone in the signposter matters. So yeah, Busker might not just be background noise. He might be the man who gave Brandy a whole new melody and a baby solo. There's a big difference between being infertile and being sterile. Infertile means it's hard to get pregnant. Sterile means it's game over, thanks for playing. No amount of candlelight or fertility tea is fixing that. Maybe Brandy had the same problem as Chili, infertility, which made it hard for her to have kids. And after enough failed attempts to make anyone start charging rent at the fertility clinic, she probably assumed she was done for. But Brandy's nothing if not stubborn. She looked destiny in the eye and said, "Not today, Satan." And since we've always seen her solo since episode 1, maybe romance wasn't on her to-do list. Why bother with dating apps when you can just get emotional support from a syringe and a lab coat? That's right. We're talking about in vitro fertilization. For anyone confused, here's the G-rated version. Instead of 2 bees falling in love, 1 bee says, "You know what? I got this." Borrows a little seed from another bee and plants it in her own flower pot. Science handles the rest, because love is temporary, but medical billing is forever. So yeah, that might have been Brandy's route. Technology meets determination. with a hint of emotional breakdown. The only mystery left is, who was the donor? Maybe we'll never know, unless the baby pops out with a guitar and street performer energy. Then we'll have our answer, and one hell of a family reunion special. Maybe after so many failed attempts, Brandy thought she was sterile, but she didn't give up. And since we've always seen her alone since the first episode, maybe she was never interested in having a romantic partner, because of her fertility struggles. That's why she turned to a secret donor. For those who don't know what that means, I'm talking about in vitro fertilization. If you don't understand that, here's a simple version. Instead of two bees loving each other and having a baby bee, one bee decides to stay single and takes a little seed from another bee. Then, with technology, that seed is placed in the mom's flower pot so she can still have a baby bee. That's basically what might have happened with Brandy, and that process increased her chances of pregnancy. The only thing we don't know is who was the donor. Honestly, we may never know who the real father is. Maybe we'll see some physical similarities someday, but nothing certain. Actually, the previous theory connects to this one. And trust me, it's juicier than a soap opera written by a fertility doctor. Some fans think the baby doesn't have a father, but a mother. Yep, two moms. Bluey just went from preschool to prestigious progressive family drama. And honestly, it checks out. Remember Pretzel from The Sign? The kid casually confirmed he's got two moms. So it wouldn't be shocking if Brandy's in a same-sex relationship too. Maybe she didn't bring a partner because explaining that to the Healer family would be like teaching Bingo what tax evasion means. Sure, Bluey would probably nod like, yeah, Pretzel has two moms? But Muffin would throw a fit like she just found out Santa was a metaphor. Now, theory number 4, borrowed womb. Or, as I like to call it, the ultimate rental service. What if Brandy wasn't just infertile, but completely sterile? Like the baby-making factory permanently closed, no workers, no shifts. HR deleted the files. Now before you say, that's dark, hear me out. It's science. When your body says no more babies for you, modern medicine basically says, cool, want to borrow someone else's uterus for a bit? It's like Uber, but for wombs. You just pick a donor, plug in some genetics, and boom, delivery in 9 months or your money back, maybe. But here's the emotional gut punch. If Brandy used another woman's womb, that baby might not look like her. And that's why she looked at Bingo so softly, like, damn, your mom got the genetics I wanted. So maybe that's the real message of that episode. Not that Brandy could never have kids, but that her child might never look like her. And honestly, that's way sadder than any baby reveal, because sometimes the thing you want most doesn't come from you. And now, the wildest theory of them all. The one that makes every Bluey fan clutch their pearls and whisper, they wouldn't, right? That bandit might have something to do with Brandy's baby. Yeah, it sounds insane. But let's be honest, Bandit's been suspiciously fertile for a cartoon dog. Man's practically the Australian Nick Cannon. So, here's the tea. Some fans think that before Chili came along, Bandit knew Brandy. Not, oh hey, we're family friends knew. More like, we shouldn't be in the same episode together kind of knew. There's even a flashback scene where Bandit's with a younger Chili, except some people swear she looks more like Brandy, and honestly, they might be onto something. That scene gives more complicated past vibes than a 3 a.m. Facebook message from your ex. And let's not forget, Bandit has form. He's been a little too friendly with Wendy next door. They flirt like two people who once shared a bottle of wine and a bad decision. So yeah, maybe Bandit and Brandy had something. Maybe that's why she looks so uncomfortable showing up at the Healer house. Like, hey, remember that time we almost destroyed your marriage? Ha ha. Family photo? Maybe that's why she stayed away so long. Guilt. Or child support payments. And look, I'm not saying Bandit's definitely the father, but if his seed can create two emotionally complex prodigies like Bluey and Bingo, maybe he's got legendary genetics. So yeah, maybe the baby really is his. And if that's true, we might need a whole new spin-off, Bluey, the paternity test. So what do you think, friends? Who do you think is the father of Brandy's baby? Is it bandit, a mystery donor, or maybe just divine intervention after too many glasses of red wine and regret? Let us know in the comments. And remember, in Bluey, no secret stays buried forever. Not even in the backyard.